Jackson Radio Show.
We're almost 1 year into the Trump administration, and the end of any year is a time for assessing, especially this one. Mike Allen had an interesting observation this week in his Axios newsletter. He pointed out how little President Trump and perceptions of him have changed in the last year. Think about it. Roughly the same number of people support him today as did at the beginning of his administration. The Russian probe has remained constant. The elected Republicans remain skeptical of his leadership, but largely compliant. The elected Democrats, they still don't like him. The war with the media has never subsided, and neither have his Twitter fingers. All true.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was Smerconish, Michael Smerconish of CNN. And I think this guy needs a bodyguard. He just kind of laid out a little bit of, I mean, what he's going to say next will blow your mind, but he lays it out. And by the way, he's not finished. I'm going to play the rest of this clip here in a bit, but I want to set this up to explain to you what's going on in 2018. Yeah, he's talking about Donald Trump's first year in office, and in the opening to this show, he actually says that the president, Donald Trump, could be the most consequential president of the modern era. Now, I want you to consider the impact of a CNN anchor recognizing the obvious. Finally, admitting it on public TV, the fake news network admits President Trump, for better or worse, as Smerconish put it, has impacted America in profound ways. Now, he plays a bit of cover his butt, and I'm going to play the rest of the clip because this way we get to dissect it more. But this probably, I mean, coming at the end of the year, is CNN's way of, and this is just my opinion, of saying, you know what? We got to start looking at things differently. And here's the other thing. This isn't the only guy that said something positive about Donald Trump. We'll get to that later in the broadcast. So let's play the rest of this clip, let you hear what he had to say, because it's mind-blowing, and then we'll dissect it.
But there's a temptation in those observations to conclude that his administration, the passage of the tax bill notwithstanding, is static, gridlocked, that nothing's getting done in a polarized climate. That would be a mistake. In fact, if the pace of change continues for the duration of Trump's presidency, however long that might be, I think he could become the most consequential president in the modern era. Consequential meaning most important and significant, having the biggest overall impact. As with the criteria that Time magazine uses when determining its person of the year, this is not necessarily a good thing. Think about it. A Supreme Court position that was by rights a Democratic pick instead went to Trump. And his influence on shaping the federal judiciary is far greater than just Neil Gorsuch on the nation's highest court. He broke a Senate record this year by confirming a dozen new U.S. Circuit Court judges, the most during a president's first year in office in more than a century. At the rate that he's going, by next year, more than 12% of federal cases heard will be by Trump-appointed judges. Those picks will be his longest-lasting legacy. The tax bill that he's just signed is the first major overhaul of policy since the Reagan era. Whatever the effect, that won't be undone anytime soon. And by ending the individual mandate, President Trump has felled a major domino that will upset the economic viability of the Affordable Care Act. After all, how can you provide coverage for those with pre-existing conditions if you don't have everybody in the insurance pool? Trump has made cutting federal regulations a priority. He's revoked 67. He's delayed or derailed more than 1,500 others. He's pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord, okayed the Keystone Pipeline, recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and refused to recertify the Iranian nuclear deal. On his watch, the Iraq prime minister just declared victory over ISIS. The New York Times' Ross Douthat called it a war Trump won. In immigration enforcement, ICE has arrested more than 100,000 people who entered the U.S. illegally, 70% of whom were already convicted criminals. His State Department has undergone massive restructuring and shrinking, again, for better or for worse. And don't forget about the influence that ideologically driven members of his cabinet are having out of the spotlight. Betsy DeVos at Education, Scott Pruitt at the EPA, Ben Carson at HUD, Rick Perry at Energy, Jeff Sessions at Justice. No, Time magazine got it wrong. When not naming the president, it's Person of the Year in 2017. By their own definition, the person who most affected the news and our lives for good or ill and embodied what was important about the year was absolutely Donald J. Trump.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. There's a temptation in these observations, Smerconish says, to conclude that his administration, the passage of the tax bill notwithstanding, is static, gridlocked. I don't know who's tempted by that. You'd have to be brain dead to believe that we're gridlocked. Donald Trump is moving legislation through at a rapid pace. In fact, I was in not a Twitter battle, but I responded back to Ann Coulter, where she says, "Where's the wall? Where's the wall?" And I'm like, "Hey, Ann, yeah, Donald Trump, what the heck's he been doing, huh? What are you talking about? Gridlock? This guy he has the economy moving in spite of the left. All their efforts to derail him, and he's just boop-a-doop-a-doo, moving along. The executive orders that he's issuing are effectively undoing Obama's executive orders, or he wouldn't be doing these executive orders. He's worked with Congress on all these different things that he's doing. And Obamacare, which everybody said, oh, they can't kill it. What they're going to do to Obamacare? How many years? We had 7+ years under Republican leadership, if you want to call it that. I use the term loosely, to do something about Obamacare. Trump comes in and says, look, I'll rescind it. Day one. Oh, he didn't do it day one. Well, guess what? Show me good news for Obamacare. Anywhere. Show me where people go, oh, wow, yeah, it's thriving. People love it. It's amazing. You want to know why you don't hear any good news about Obamacare? Because they're no longer spending your tax money to convince you of how good it is. With Barack Obama gone and Hillary Clinton's big old buttock sitting over in, Chappaqua, there's no way for them to convince you of the albatross that was hanging around the neck of the U.S. economy over this piece of crap legislation. So there you go. And Donald Trump says, look, I don't have to fund this. I don't have to enforce an individual mandate. And he issued an executive order that says you don't have to pay this. And that's the beginning of the end. Show me good news about Obamacare. Oh, remember what they told? Republicans better have a good replacement. When have you heard that? The good replacement was, how about we just go back to the norm? How about we go back to where people no longer pay double what they were paying before? They can have the plans they want and the doctors they want. How about we do that? Go take a poll of Obamacare, a legitimate poll. And we'll get into some polling here in a second. So anyway, here's a guy. He's telling you everything that about Donald Trump and what's going on with this administration, and whether, in our case, all good things. He's talking about judges, and he even says this, Time magazine, you screwed up. This man was the most prolific in modern history in terms of his first year performance and in changing the entire dynamics of a nation, if not the world. And you've missed it. He knows his audience. He can't just give you glowing endorsements of Donald Trump because people would revolt at CNN. But truth be told, he knows this guy has set the stage for America. And look, what do you want me to do? You want me to go through and tell you about the stock market? Do I really need to tell you about the stock market? Okay, I made a wrong prediction. I thought the stock market would go to 25,000 between now and the end of the year. And it got to 24,700 and change. I bet you there are people that would have bet you in June of this year that the stock market wouldn't go above 23,000. What do you think is going to happen in the stock market? Anybody out there, call the Kevin Jackson Show, 844-551-8255. Give me your prediction for the stock market just in the next quarter. You want to go for the year? Let me give you a prediction for the year. Don't be surprised if the stock market tops 30,000 by the end of this year. Don't be surprised. So Smercornish is telling us partly what we already know, but here's the thing, and this is the thing that's most poignant to me. He's telling an audience of anti-Trumpers, look at everything this man has done that's going to impact you. Now, some of them are panicked. What did he say? Some big percentage of the rulings that will be done that come up will be done by Trump judges. He's appointed more judges. He's obviously got the Supreme Court. Let me put it to you this way, folks. We are so lined up from a political perspective. And I hate to say it that way because I don't have politics that are left or right. I have politics that are what's the best thing for this country. But we are so aligned right now, it scares the Democrats beyond belief. And Smirconish of CNN was forced to say that. That's the critical thing to think about.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.